The latest Manchester United news, lots to discuss tonight. We've had dividends going out of the club from the Glazers. Ed Woodward's been talking about how he backed Solskjaer this summer. And some quite big news about Mason Greenwood, which has been bubbling around. And I think many of us felt that there might be something in it. But ultimately, it appears that there is something in it as well. Slightly earlier show tonight, 7 o'clock, because 8 o'clock I'm doing a watch along on That's Football. The link's in the video description, Ajax against Liverpool. But we are here to talk about Manchester United, and we're going to kick off with this Mason Greenwood story. Now, last week, ahead of the Newcastle game, Mason Greenwood was talking about training, looking to score goals against Newcastle. Didn't even make the matchday squad. Talk of a niggle. Didn't go with us to Paris. Talk of a niggle. Talk of him actually training. Talk of disciplinary action. Talk of him being out on the Friday night drinking with Brandon Williams. Negated and denied by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a false truth. However, today, the Times and the Telegraph, and specifically James Ducker from the Telegraph, who is a good source around Manchester United, saying that Manchester United are growing increasingly frustrated by Mason Greenwood, and specifically in relation to punctuation, turning up to training late. Now, this is all we've got. This is not about being out on the piss. This is not about what he did in Iceland. This is about punctuation of an 18-year-old kid. And let's not forget, he's an 18-year-old here. And I think that's the most important thing. My only concern here is that I've seen Ravel Morrison. I've seen Gazza's career unravel. And I don't want to see somebody who I can already see, and I've already said this about Mason Greenwood. He can be anything he wants to be. Now, I don't think Rashford can be Mbappe, and I don't think that Martial can be Neymar, but I think Greenwood can be. I think he can get to that level. Maybe not the way that Neymar plays, the way Mbappe plays, but world class doesn't mean you play like Neymar. You know, there's different world class. Ronaldo and Messi have been beyond world class for years. They're very different players. Van Dijk's a world class centre back at the moment. So Mason Greenwood can be a world class whatever he wants to be. He can't do that if he abuses his God-given talent. And I believe it is a God-given talent that he's got. I don't think we need, as a United fans, to castigate him, and I don't think we will. That's not the club we are. I don't think we need to judge him. That's not the club we are. But there's clearly an issue there. There was an issue after Iceland where he embarrassed himself and the club when he got sent home from England, and you would think that was how many weeks ago? 4 weeks ago. He came out and apologised 4 weeks ago. You would think that would be the kick up the backside to get your head down and work hard. And what we're hearing is that since then, there's been more frustrating episodes for Manchester United in relation to punctuation and other things and being late. How is that acceptable? Now, it's acceptable because he's 18, but he needs to get the right people around him. Look at Marcus Rashford. He's scoring a goal against Paris. This morning he's tweeting about trying to get rules changed by the British government. Marcus Rashford is absolutely the person to follow, and he's at the same club. Now, Greenwood can be better than Rashford, but what Rashford is doing off the pitch, the way he conducts himself, is world class. We need to get hold of Mason Greenwood, but he needs to get hold of himself. You have got a God-given talent, and it's yours, but don't think you're God's gift, and don't piss it up the wall. Like, there are so many examples. George Best was basically retired by his mid-20s. His mid-20s, he was done because he messed it up. Don't go down that road. And I'm not comparing him to George Best. George Best had a drink problem, and I'm not saying that Mason Greenwood's got that. But he's such a talent. The only feeling I have, and I'm sure the only feeling you have, is fear. Fear that he'll waste this talent that he's got. And I tell you what, as an 18-year-old, he probably doesn't give a shit what I think or what you lot think, because he, you know, at 18, a lot of lads, especially when they've lived in the bubble of being a professional footballer, they know best. But I'm telling you what, Mason, all these hangers-on, all these girls, all these people sliding into your DMs, would they be doing that to Mason Greenwood if he was a bricklayer or a dustbin man or working on the Tesco checkout? They're doing it because of your football talent. They're doing it because they want to hang on to you. Don't fall into the trap of hangers-on and fake friends and popularity, because you've got 10 years as a footballer, 10, 12 years. Don't waste it. You can be anything you want to be, and you'll regret it for the rest of your life if you don't. So I don't know the full story about it. I'm just a little bit scared. I think he's a fantastic player. I know that this club and this fan base and you are going to back him 100%, and he can take that to the bank. But don't disrespect it. Don't disrespect yourself. And come on. I know it's hard to get up when you're younger, But bloody hell, get into training on time. It's Manchester United Football Club. You're going in to train with people like Paul Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, Anthony Martial, Cavani. I'd be up at 5 a.m. every day. I'd be eating my cornflakes. I'd be watching Piers Morgan. I'd do anything. I'd be so excited. So come on, don't waste it. That's all I'm saying. But it's sad. It's sad that it's come out. It's sad that it's come out, but it's coming out now from credible sources. It's not just coming out on social media. It's coming out from credible sources now. So there's clearly an issue there. I don't think we need to get angry about it. I do not think we need to do that. I think Mason just needs the right people around him, which I'm sure there are, and to focus on it. Because you know what as well? Imagine, I think about being 18, being that good, having everybody telling me how good I am, and maybe just getting a little, starting to believe your own hype. It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous at 18. I look at Ronaldo at 18. I remember Ronaldo at 18. You look at Messi at 18. They weren't believing their own hype. And you know, you've got 18 to 22. You've got so much more growth. You've got to be focused. Please. It's so important. It's so important. Anyway, that's on. I don't want to be talking about Mason Greenwood other than that to say that I'm just a little bit scared. I want him to. I think about the weekend and I think, you know, we've got no Martial. Mason Greenwood against Chelsea. Get on that pitch and do what you can do, because I mean, one of the byproducts of his arrogance is he's bloody arrogant on the pitch as well. It's just getting that balance. Fantastic player. I want him to be the best he can be, because I don't want to see another Ravel Morrison. I don't want to see another Glazer. It hurts. Anyway, look, let's move on to other more topical things. Manchester United announced their well, whatever they call it, their figures today. Debt has doubled in the last 12 months to £474 million. We're in debt, nearly in debt by £500 million. However, amongst that debt and amongst the world where everybody's cutting back, and the Glazers still paid themselves right in the middle of lockdown, they paid themselves £12 million, £11.9 million, and this calendar year, financial year, they've paid themselves £23 million in the last financial year, including the £11.9 million they paid themselves in the middle of the summer. Now, this was agreed in February before the lockdown, but they could have suspended it. A lot of companies suspended their dividends when COVID hit. Manchester United and the Glazers decided not to. I mean, it's almost... This was going to happen anyway today, so you can't say that they've timed it to do it on a day where we're all happy about PSG. But what a day for them to announce it, because we're all on a high. We're all talking about what a fantastic result it was last night, because it was, and how well we played, because we did. But the comments from Woodward that I'm going to read you, and the Glazers finding out about their dividends, it's a real kick in the teeth. I've got to be honest. I'm still very aware about what happened in the transfer window, and we'll listen to what Woodward thinks about it in a minute. But £11.9 million taken out during lockdown by these owners. £23 million this year. I think they're well over £100 million in the last 5 years. No other club has taken even 10 from the Premier League in the last 5 years. And yet our owners have just gone and taken 11 million in the last 3 months in the middle of a crisis. But we won't buy players, but we've got to give the dividend. You know, a lot of the time, I've got to be honest, I'm sort of tongue-in-cheek when I say, well, we won't buy players because we've got to make sure the dividends go to the Glazers. But actually, it's not tongue-in-cheek. It's bloody true. It's true. As long as they get... It's like that song, isn't it? How do you like your eggs in the morning? I like mine with my dividends. You know, that's all they want. That's all they want from this club is money. And I mean, I don't think any of you are stupid enough to think anything else, but they're so blatant about it now. It's so blatant. It's like COVID, 12 million. You know, Sancho, no, 12 million to us. 23 million for the year. Cash back. You know, it's just constant. And yet here we are, nearly £500 million in debt as well. Forget the transfers. We're nearly £500 million in debt, and they're still taking 20-something million out in the last financial year. It's a bloody joke. An absolute joke. And, you know, what can we do about it? Absolutely nothing. But it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. We all lived that transfer window. That appalling transfer window. We all lived that. And whilst we're living that, hoping we're going to actually do something relevant, the Glazers are taking 12 million out. I mean... Please let's create awareness. Youths are dying in Nigeria by the police and army. Let's spread the word. We need help. End brutality in Nigeria, says Juan. Thanks for the super chat, mate. You don't need to do super chats to raise that awareness. We spoke about it this morning and it's all over social media. I've seen some videos today. It's appalling. Absolutely appalling. People just being shot and murdered in the streets. Look, I think any normal person is behind any movement, but it's got to be bigger than that. As I said this morning, you know, social media, can it make a difference? Yes, it can, but it needs bigger voices who can make a difference to do something about it. The governments of this world, you know, people are being murdered. I mean, there's a word for it, isn't it? There's a word for it. Murder in the streets. It's disgusting. It's sad what's happening in Nigeria, but we're here for football, says Sitol. Well, look, no, it's sad what's happening in Nigeria. We're going to talk about football. There's no either or. It is bad, and it's right to be mentioned because people need to realise what is going on, as Agalo was talking about last night. As he says, justice for Nigeria. Anyway, look, Greenwood, we've spoken about. The Glazers thing is ridiculous. We've got an update from Fabrizio Romano's podcast I want to go through as well. Very good update about Upamecano, about Pogba, and about Jadon Sancho. Really interesting stuff there. But I just want to read you some of the quotes from Ed Woodward today, and you can digest it however you want. So he says, we are making progress as a football club. There's a clear strategy under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to build a successful, committed team with a core of homegrown talent blended with high-quality recruitment that play fast-flowing, attacking football. Now, if that was Bayern Munich. Now, Bayern Munich are a very well-run football club. They're the best club in the world at the moment. They have people who used to play for the club within the structure of their club. They have director of footballs, all sorts. If this was from Bayern Munich, we've got a clear strategy under our manager to build a successful, committed team with a core of homegrown talent blended with high-quality recruits that play fast-flowing, attacking football. You'd believe that, wouldn't you? You'd actually believe it. It's like, you know, you're in a nice restaurant and they bring out a lovely beef Wellington. And you'd believe that was beef Wellington. When Manchester United say that and they bring out it as beef Wellington, I'm thinking it's roadkill. I'm not thinking it's beef. I'm thinking it's roadkill. Because it's a very good statement, but it's just words. I don't believe that you're fully committed to Ollie because he didn't back him this summer. I don't believe that you're trying to build a team to win a title. I think you're hoping that that will happen. And the reality is, we as fans are dictated to by what happens on the pitch and what happens off the pitch. We've got no control on it. The problem is we've got people who are in control of it who don't believe in what they're actually saying. It's just words. And I think, like I said, if it was Bayern Munich or Liverpool or Manchester City, I would believe that they have a plan to do that. I don't believe we've got a plan to do that. I don't believe we've got a plan to do that. I don't believe we've got a plan to do that. Not when we failed in a transfer window and yet our owners are taking all that money out at the same bloody time. No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. Woodward also said, we're pleased with the current additions. The investments, and he names the additions of Tellez and Cavani, etc. We've invested 200 million euros. I like the way we're a British club. Talking to mainly American shareholders, but we talk in euros. You know why we're talking in euros? Because it's more bloody money. If you said it in pounds, it's less than 200 million. So we're suddenly talking in euros now, even though we're a British club who's going to come out of the euro, doesn't even deal in euros. But we're talking in euros, Ed. He says we've invested over 200 million euros since 2019, which is more than any other top European club. Well, we're not a top European club, Ed, for a start. So why are you comparing our spend to Real Madrid, Barcelona, PSG, or any other top club when we're not a top club? Surely we've got to spend more to be a top club. I mean, idiotic comment number one. Number two, we haven't spent 200 million euros at all. Because you're talking in expenditure, you're not talking in net spends. And we all know you're an ex-banker with a B. And we all know that when you're talking about expenditure, if it suited you, you'd talk about net spend because net spend's the most important thing. So he's talking about £200 million. He's not taking off what they've sold. He's talking like he's walked in with 200 million quid and gone, there you go. We haven't done that. There's a much lower figure than 200 million when you take off what we've sold. I believe the board does have a plan. It just has nothing to do with football, says Andrew Rossi. And then this was the best statement of all from Ed Woodward. The bottom line is we are investing and will continue to invest to back the manager. You didn't back the manager this summer. And you can dress it up in dress, whatever dress you like. You can put lovely little shoes on it. You can even put lipstick. You can do the hair. You did not back the manager this summer. And I tell you what, nobody believes you backed the manager this summer. So I don't know what you're talking about. You're kidding yourself and you're kidding everybody else who has to listen to that absolute tripe. You didn't back the manager this summer. You bought players in that the manager didn't want, didn't even know about, and you certainly didn't bring in what he asked for. He wanted a centre-back, he wanted a right winger, and he wanted Jack Grealish. He got Van der Beek, a left-back, and Cavani that nobody even knew we were going to get, because I don't think even Cavani himself knew he was going to get, because he's still he's not fit, and you could have bought him 4 months ago. So don't try. And what it is at the end of the day, that result last night just makes it perfect timing. Because Ed can walk in and start going, oh, look, this is all down to me. Brilliant investment. We had a really good summer. I've backed the manager. You haven't backed the bloody manager. The manager's pulled a bloody miracle off in the last 2 games to make you look competent when you're totally incompetent. That was a crap transfer window. It was not what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted. It was not what Manchester United needed. And I tell you what, Axel Tuanzebe's been out injured for a year. You're telling me it was part of the plan that Axel Tuanzebe was going to play against PSG and play world class? You're jammy. You've got more jam in you than a jam jar of strawberry jam. You're just jammy. And I'm glad Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's jammy because he deserves a bit of luck. But I tell you what, there is no way, sister, there is no way that Axel Tuanzebe is... They'll make out that it is, oh, we didn't buy a centre-back for Ollie because we knew we had Axel. He's been out for a bloody year. He's been out for a year. There is no guarantee that he was even going to be back for the PSG game. We've got lucky, and thank God we have got lucky, because Ollie wanted a centre-back, they didn't get him one. He wanted a right winger, they didn't get him one. They didn't back him, and Ollie... With all our backing, I hope we can win the league and the Champions League. The reality is we probably can't. We're probably going to suffer at some point because we haven't got the squad that he needed. But this club coming out like they're the Billy Big Bollocks again, saying we backed our manager. You didn't. You absolutely didn't, and they should not be let off the hook. You had a crap transfer window, and the scary thing is they're probably sat there thinking they had a good one. And this is where the incompetence reigns. We've got greedy owners taking money out of the club. We've got incompetent people running the club. And the best bit is they think they're doing a good job. Get a director of football in and somebody somewhere try and run this football club properly, because it's not being run properly at all. I hadn't even heard about the travesty in Nigeria until KG mentioned it last night. United stands, says Alahu Ferbert. Well, that's very good. That's very, very good. That people who aren't hearing about it are hearing about it on here. So that is good news. We've spoken about Greenwood already, Marcus. You should have been here at the start of the show. I don't want to go back on Greenwood because I think it was a one-topic conversation. I don't want it to turn into any sort of witch hunt against Greenwood. I'm just fearful that he's going to waste his talent. But look, he's got the right people around him. I think Marcus Rashford's important. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be important. They need to deal with it. Mark, is Ed saying the manager has a strategy because he wants to pin it on him if he fails? Same bad faith plan as before. Total Ed smokescreen, says the Jahan Shah. I think that's a very good comment, because the way I read some of Ed's comments, and you can interpret them how you like, is it was very much about we've invested in this manager, we've backed this manager, and if come Christmas the results are bad, in their head they'll be like, we backed him, let's sack him. It's exactly what they did to Van Gaal. It's exactly what they did to Mourinho. They spend money on the shit players well, I'm not saying shit. I'm not saying shit. That's not fair. They spend money on players that the manager doesn't want, and then they make out that they back them, and then they sack them. I mean, to be fair to Mourinho and Van Gaal, they've probably been sacked because of the incompetence of Ed Woodward. And when you listen to what Van Gaal says and when you listen to what Mourinho says, you can very much determine that. And if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer gets sacked at any point this season, he will be being sacked because they didn't back him. I'm hoping he can do a job with the players that he's got, and there are encouraging signs there. But look, let's not run away with ourselves. We know we've got very difficult games. We know we've started the season badly. We know we're playing catch-up, and we know that there are weaknesses. But as I said, that Tuanzebe performance last night, could make our centre-back issues a little less scary. But having said that, Eric Bailly's dropped out. So is Tuanzebe just not replacing where we were with Bailly? But he's better. we're short at centre-back, and we're really, really, really short of talent down the wing to put decent crosses in, which is why we needed a right winger. Let's talk about, well, what do you think of Ralf Rangnick from Red Bull for Director of Football? Milan turned their back on him, so he is available, says Andrew Zakov. Well, United always talk about a Director of Football, and then they don't get a Director of Football. It's something that just seems to get dropped out there that they don't actually follow through on. So, look, I'd love United to get a Director of Football, but my fear would be that even if we did get a Director of Football, would that Director of Football be given the role of a Director of Football, or would they be a puppet to the owners, which is what normally happens? I'm still here, everybody. It's not quite Halloween yet. I just wanted to double check something on my phone, which I didn't have to hand. Oh, it's quite good when I'm not here. Oh, I'm behind the chair, everybody. I'm not really. I'm back. Axel Turnavaro was class last night. 3 things in life you can guarantee: death, taxes, and Ed being prattish. Scumbags, the lot of them, says Jake Marshall. Do you think the board are worried that Ollie had the fans on side and they've thrown him under the bus on purpose, says Nick Warren? I don't know. No, ultimately, Ed Woodward, the Glazers, the Manchester United board, they want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be successful because they haven't got to pay him off. They haven't got to recruit another manager. So they want him to be successful. But if he starts to not be successful, you will see. I mean, what happened? The transfer window was an absolute joke. The next day, people are talking about Pochettino. Do you think that's an accident? It's a deflection. We deflect very, very quickly. In Mourinho's last year, he finished second. In the summer, he didn't get backed. And then within 3 months, everyone's Mourinho out. Like, they're not... When the season starts, it all goes on the manager. And the club know that. They know they can deliver. I mean, I couldn't... When the transfer window closed last summer, not the one just gone, I couldn't believe how bad it was. It was worse this year. And yet, within a day, everyone's talking about Ollie out and Poch in. So they know they can manipulate you. Of course they do. Why do I never hear about Liverpool, Chelsea, etc. chairmans? Woodward always on TV and making comments. Woodward will never get Director of Football, give up Director of Football because he loves it, says Dazu W. I've said it before. He's playing the best game of Football Manager anybody can ever play, because I don't think his football knowledge stands up to scrutiny at all. And he's got the keys to the kingdom. I mean, fair play to the guy. You know, it's just unfortunate that he's Manchester United and it's our emotions he's got in his hands. I just you know, I genuinely don't ever want anyone to lose their job, and I don't really understand how much is on him. But as chief executive of the football club, when you look at what's happened over the last 7 years, recruitment, retention, sackings, the contracts we've given out, I don't think there's any other chief executive in any other club that would still be in a place at there. I like Ed Woodward. He thinks like a businessman, says Parjav. I do not think he's the one making decisions. There must be a role out there for Ed Woodward as a financial advisor. Glazer should go, though. Interesting. And European Super League, says Savante. I don't want it to. I've not really spoken about it. I don't think it'll get off the ground, but I don't want it to happen. I mean, I don't need to get political. I don't need to get angry about a European Super League. I just need to say this. What is broken? I love the Premier League. I think the Premier League is getting better. I think this is already the best Premier League we've had in a while, but I think it's getting better. Teams like Wolves and Leeds and Everton are making it stronger alongside the traditional 6. I think we've got a fantastic Premier League. I think we've got the best league in the world. And I enjoyed the Champions League last night. We're not in it every year, unfortunately, and I really enjoyed the Champions League last night. So it's not, for me, it's not broken. So I don't know why it needs to be fixed. So on a European Super League, it is only about money, because I actually love the Premier League and what it is. So I don't want to see it gone. Do McTominay's accent, says Mohammed. I can't. I can do a bit of a Scottish accent. Carl's Iron Brew made in Scotland from Gardars. Get in my pocket, Neymar. You bloody Brazilian Theo Walcott. Get in my pocket. I probably ruined it a bit there. But McTominay, look, I want McTominay to do well. I want Fred to do well. I want Luke Shaw to do well. I want Lindelof to do well. I want Dan James to do well. You see the theme here. There are a selection of players that might not be Man United players, but I want them all to do well. And I think at the moment they're really, really working hard. let's talk about Fabrizio Romano for a moment. So Fabrizio Romano did his podcast today, and I know a lot of people probably aren't interested in Romano as much at the moment because the transfer window is not open. But I tell you what, I love this jumper. They normally have the thing there. I'm not rubbing my boobs. I don't have any. They're very firm, mine. But I say I work out. I do press ups. I don't. Somebody said that Woodward was actually willing to pay for Sancho, but the Glazers said no. Any truth in this, says Carl Freddy. It's all rumours. That might be true. That might be true. But you know what? Let's talk about what Fabrizio said. So look, the transfer window is closed, but Fabrizio was talking about numerous things. Talking about Liverpool's interest in Koulibaly with Van Dijk being injured. He did mention Upamecano and said that there will be a strong fight for Upamecano next summer when his release clause kicks in of 40 million euros. Many clubs are going to be in the race. Manchester United are very interested in him. Straight away when Fabrizio said that, I thought, you know what? I'm not engaged in transfers at the moment anyway. You know, just leave me a voice note. But realistically, we ain't going to win a race for Upamecano if PSG and other clubs are in the race for him. We don't win races. We couldn't even beat Dortmund to a 16-year-old lad from Birmingham who's English, who we showed round Carrington, who met Sir Alex and Cantona. If we can't win that race, how are we going to win a race for a bloody RB Leipzig centre-back who Bayern Munich wants? We're not going to win the Upamecano race. I'd love to say we would, but we're going back to what we were talking about 5 minutes ago. The pure incompetence of our board around recruitment. We take too long. We will imagine. I mean, it's a very simple deal. We will pay your release clause. This are your wages. Like PSG or Bayern Munich or Real Madrid will just go bang. Man United will go, can we negotiate this release clause? And Leipzig will go, do you know what a release clause is? Yeah. Can we negotiate it? Right. Okay. He's already gone to PSG, but for next time, you snooze, you lose with a release clause. A release clause is something we put into his contract for 40 million. That means if you pay it, we have to let him go. We're not going to let him go any less because we'd like to actually get more. Yeah, but we could get it cheaper. Hypothetically, yes, but we would never do it. Well, okay. We'll give you 30 million. He's already gone to PSG. He's done the bloody... He's doing keep-ups on the pitch at the Parc des Princes. Oh, you're driving a hard bargain, are you? Get out. You know, it's... So I don't see us winning the Upamecano race. I am very negative about United's transfer activity, of course, at the moment, with good reason in my mind. But no, I don't see us winning a race for Upamecano. I think Chelsea won a very good race with Werner, but I think if COVID hadn't hit, there would have been a few people after that. And Chelsea probably would win that race still. He also mentioned Paul Pogba. And he said, this is from Fabrizio Romano, obviously it's Pogba's dream to play for Real Madrid, but there's no interest from Real Madrid in Paul Pogba at this moment in time. So, you know, Paul Pogba may be fidgeting. Mino Raiola may be making phone calls, but the reality is Manchester United have not sat down to do a contract with Paul Pogba at this moment in time. They'd like to do that. And whilst Pogba's dream may well be to play for Real Madrid, Real Madrid are not interested in Paul Pogba at the moment. And there's even talk that Real Madrid would like Kevin De Bruyne. And to be honest with you, if I was Real Madrid and I had a choice between De Bruyne or Pogba, I would go with De Bruyne because he's been the more consistent player. But I feel with Pogba, you just don't know what's going to happen with Pogba. I think if United got in a title race and were competitive at the highest level, he'd sign a new contract. I think he was close to admitting that he wanted to do that in the summer, and then the club hasn't been active in the transfer window, had a bad start, and he thought, you know, this club's going backwards again. I think if the club does things like it did last night consistently, he would sign a new contract. I think if that doesn't happen, he would like to go to Real Madrid, but if Real Madrid don't go for him and Juventus say they want him, which they do, I think he would go to Juventus. So I still think that for Pogba, if United are successful, which is something we haven't done in the time he's been here, he could sign a new contract. If not, then Real Madrid is going to be the destination. But I mean, the interesting thing about Real Madrid is we know, as Man United fans, how Real Madrid work. And if they want a United player, they'll be tapping them up and after them. And at the moment, as Romano says, they're not doing that. And it could be COVID related. It could be, you know, waiting to see him. And they're getting battered in the Champions League at this moment, aren't they? So I can see Liverpool getting up Upamecano. No way they don't bring in a top centre-back in January with what happened to Van Dijk, says the Watcher. I mean, the thing that bothers me the most, the Watcher, is that, you know, this Premier League season is so open. It is. It really is. And I can see Pep getting the title. If Liverpool collapse, I can see Man City getting the title by default. But there's a real opportunity for United there. I just feel not getting those 2 players in for Ollie could be the issue for us this season. I hope not. I'm really happy with the result yesterday and deserved the win, but I think the fan base forgot how lucky we were. Neymar Di Maria was out of form. Your thoughts, says Brian Harkness. I don't agree with that. I don't really agree with that. I think that our defence yesterday was fantastic. I don't think it would have mattered if Neymar was in form or Di Maria was in form. I think a lot of the fact is that I thought Di Maria looked good on the ball. I thought Neymar looked good on the ball. I think they were just tactically parked out of the game. I don't think they could get into the game. I think we dealt with them. I don't think they were out of form. I think we put them out of form. But if people want to say we were lucky against PSG, fine. I don't think we were. I think we were the better team and we won. And you know what? We did win. But to be honest with you, that was last night. I'm thinking about Chelsea now because that's not the club. That's not where we need to be. It's like Rashford said. You know, we've got to go now to the next challenge. And to be honest, if we lose to Chelsea badly on Saturday night, I don't give a shit about what happened against PSG or Newcastle. You know, the next challenge is Chelsea. We've got to be as focused as we have been in the last 2 games. And he also did, Fabrizio Romano also spoke about Sancho because he was asked the question about January. He said, no, Dortmund won't want to sell him in January, so it'll be in the summer. And again, it will be a lot of competition for Manchester United. Give Pogba away, says David Lee. You will look like Ed Woodward in 10 years' time, says Ayush. Thanks for that, Ayush. I mean, that is pretty... You know, I've been insulted a lot. I've been called a lot of bad things, but that is just... disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. That's facism. Why do you have to say horrible things like that? Neymar is overrated, bro, says Jane. Brazilian Theo Walcott. Lampard under more pressure than Ollie, says Alpha Gaming. Look, I think as we move towards the weekend, and look, it does come thick and fast, doesn't it? I always used to think Europa League was quick, but we played Tuesday night, and already I feel like Chelsea game's almost upon us because it's Thursday tomorrow. But you know, next week we're playing on Wednesday night, and then you know you're even closer to Saturday. But yeah, the Chelsea previews and everything are going to kick in on the channel from tomorrow. But what I would say is, and again, I think the backdrop is going to be what a game that is against Chelsea, Manchester United and Chelsea, and I can say this safely. And start chucking your questions in, by the way. I think I can safely say that, and we've said it so many times, Chelsea and Manchester United, they run a parallel. They, you know, third, we basically both finished third at the end of last season. Ollie and Lampard basically around the same time came in, both ex-legends of their club, both with challenges for different reasons. You know, Lampard came into a transfer ban. Ollie basically has a transfer ban every year. Demanding fan bases, of course, and owners that don't mind sacking managers. Young players being integrated. I think there are big parallels, and you know what worries me the most is that over the course of the Lampard-Ollie rivalry, apart from the FA Cup semi-final where Ollie put a weakened team out, we've got the better of him twice in the league and the Carabao Cup. So I look at the Lampard-Ollie thing, and if they've played 4 games, we've won 3, they've won 1. You feel that actually it should be, if they play 10 games, 6-4 or 5-5. So can we go and take it from 3-1 to 4-1? We need to do it, but it's a massive game, and there's Chelsea are struggling with the fact that they've bought too many players, and you can never buy too many players if it's what the manager wants, but they've not all integrated yet, and they are going to integrate, and I just hope it's not going to happen on Saturday. But it's a very interesting game. Thanks for the sticker, Renate. Who do you think will start against Chelsea, says Gemi Talabi? I mean, early days on that. It's very early days on that. I think that the one that really matters to me, and I'm not spoiling anything here, the one that matters the most is Tuanzebe. I think that he is so important now, but I'm mindful that he's played his first game in a year and he might be feeling it a little bit. But I think he's got to play. And I just worry about Tuanzebe picking up a secondary injury. I don't want to say this, but with our fitness department and the fact that he's been out with it for a year, there's probably a 50% chance he's going to pick up a second injury in the next month. Because this is what happens. When you've been out for that long, the injury that you've recovered from may be recovered, but the rest of your body is tired because it's been, compensating for that. he's not played competitive high-level sport for a year. His body's not used to that. So if you play him, 2 or 3 games, he might go and pull a bloody muscle or a groin or something like that. So his own groin, nobody else's. But yeah, so that's my worry about Tuanzebe. I'm not getting overexcited. I know a lot of Villa fans who've been messaging me today saying he was a great player at Villa, fantastic last night, no surprise. Ollie said it's no surprise. I think we've always hoped that Tuanzebe would be that player, and whatever happens, he's proven he can be at that player now. It's not like he's pocketed Danny Ings against Southampton. He's done a fantastic performance against Kylian Mbappe and Neymar. So he's definitely got it in his locker. I just worry about Tuanzebe. I do. I just worry about his fitness because we've been so unfortunate with centre-back pairings since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, and it's so important that we have one. And look, longer term, I don't think Maguire's not finished at United. He's an £80 million centre-back. He is our captain. I just think Maguire with a quick centre-back, you'd see a different Maguire. We saw a different Lindelof yesterday, and what I liked yesterday about what a lot of you were saying is that we've always said it, and I've been very vocal about it. You cannot win a Premier League title with Maguire and Lindelof. They don't work as a pairing. They don't have any symmetry. They don't complement each other. They're not the same, but they're very similar in the way that they play, and they don't complement each other. So Lindelof last night had a better performance because he played with somebody that suits him. They're different types. Tuanzebe's got raw pace and strength. Lindelof reads the game and is good on the ball. They worked really well as a pair. So you can't just say that Maguire's done, because I think Maguire, with his aerial ability and ball ability, and he reads the game quite well, with Tuanzebe's recovery pace and power, and also good on the ball, that's a centre-back pairing that could really work. So, Maguire's not done at United. Of course he's not done. But look, Tuanzebe's very important, and he becomes nervously important because if he did get injured, we've got no Eric Bailly now. We can't rely on him. You can't rely on Ian Jones and Rojo. So if Tuanzebe did get an injury, it goes back to what I was talking about at the start. How Ed Woodward can sit there and say we've had a good summer, we've backed the manager. We lose Tuanzebe, we're back to Lindelof and Maguire with no backup. There's nobody else. There is nobody else. There's Mengi, Rojo and Jones. So we're ridiculously thin on the ground at the back, and we desperately need Tuanzebe to stay fit because he's the answer to our prayers. I'm a little afraid that Van der Beek will lose match fitness since he plays so little. Then he will not be ready when called upon, says Per Eric Klassen. I think he'll be fine, mate. Rashford, Van der Beek, Bruno, Mata, Fred, Matic, Lindelof, Shaw, Tuanzebe, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, De Gea for Chelsea, says Kelash. And do you think players will avoid talking about the injustice in Nigeria because of what repercussions Ozil faced by Arsenal when he spoke against China, says Omar? Well, Igalo's already spoken about it, and we've already seen that footballers are not afraid to make political statements, or actually not even political statements. These are statements about people being killed. So, footballers are not afraid to make statements, and they shouldn't be afraid to make statements because it's brave people who do those sort of things that can make a big difference. I mean, look at what Michael Rashford. Look at what Marcus Rashford has done in this country for child poverty. He's brought such a spotlight on it. Imagine if there is a footballer out there that puts a massive spot. I mean, imagine if I'm not putting pressure on those players to do it. But imagine if a Messi or a Neymar or a Ronaldo came out publicly and started talking about what's going on in Nigeria. Nigeria is a football crazy country as well, but the world would sit up and take notice. And I think these sports people can be a power for good. They can be. Maguire is a B-Tech. Phil Jones, says Mark Holtz. I don't think he is. I think that the captaincy doesn't suit him. And I think that, what I would like to see with Harry Maguire is I would like to see Harry Maguire coming back into the team, not as captain, focusing on his own career with someone like Tuanzebe next to him. And I think you'll see a better Harry Maguire. I think at the moment he's been playing with somebody who doesn't suit him as a centre-back partner. He's also been trying to be captain of Manchester United, which I think is too much for him. He's only, I do. And, I mean, look, just on that captaincy thing very, very quickly. Harry Maguire came into the club a year ago. I don't think his first 4 months were mind-blowing. I thought they were okay. They weren't bad. I thought they were okay. And he was rewarded with the captaincy for being okay. Bruno Fernandes, first few months in the club, have been the best player in the club. One of the best players in the league. Gets the captaincy. You see the pattern there. Harry Maguire shouldn't have the captaincy. Harry Maguire should be focusing on becoming a very good player for Manchester United, which we haven't actually seen yet. We haven't seen a consistent run of brilliant form from Harry Maguire yet. So the captaincy, to me, is a hindrance. So I would like to see him focusing on his United career. Not forgetting he's got a lot of things on his plate off the pitch as well. So I just want to see Harry Maguire playing to the potential that he has. Phenomenal Bruno, says Dave Pinto. And I really think Lindelof complements Tuanzebe more than Maguire would, says Maka International. There's a conversation to be had there. There is a conversation to be had there, and many of you have had it before. What's the difference between Lindelof and Maguire? You can like one, you can like the other. You can say one's better for the future, but the reality is, I don't think there's a massive difference between Lindelof and Maguire. I think the big difference is, if Maguire does what he did against Newcastle, he's a real asset in the penalty box, defensively and attacking. He hasn't done that enough in his first year, but if he starts doing that more regularly, Lindelof can never do that. So that's the strength that Maguire has over Lindelof, is his aerial ability is very, very important. But in other aspects of his game, I don't think there's a lot between him and Lindelof. I agree with you. Rashford was vice captain yesterday, says Athith. I'd agree with that. Why is it always Maguire who needs a new partner? Lindelof was better than him last season and this season. English bias, says Carl Freddy, which picks up on that point as well. Thanks everyone who's become a member, by the way. You can do that by clicking the join button. And I always had a feeling we would beat PSG yesterday, says Raheel. Well, I said 2-2. I fancied it as well. I think a lot of people did, even though it may have felt a little bit speculative. I did feel we had a chance as well. Luke Shaw could play in centre-back, though. We've seen in the PSG game, says Boys Dubs. I mean, look, I'm a big fan of Luke Shaw. Tellez is going to be our left-back. That's very, very obvious. I really like Tellez. I think Luke Shaw's unlucky in some ways, but it's squad depth, and that's very, very good. I'm not convinced Luke Shaw could play as a left-sided centre-back. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right that you could play with Luke Shaw and Tuanzebe as centre-backs. It feels like Luke Shaw is a left-sided centre-back in a back three, which long-term against most teams we shouldn't be playing. I don't want to see United playing with a back five for a lot of the games this season, because the problem with the back five is you lose a midfielder, and we've got so many good midfielders. You're never going to see Van der Beek, Pogba and Bruno playing very often if we play with a back five. So I want to see us playing with a back four. I'm not convinced Luke Shaw's a left-sided centre-back in a back two, in two centre-back partnerships. So, but he's a very important player for United. Tuanzebe looks world-class, says Nana. Well, look, he's just got to stay fit. That's the thing. Man United Boy says, hi Mark, can you call my dad a prat because he thinks that he's world-class? So that's from Man United Boy. What, your dad thinks he's world-class? World-class at what? What did you think about Christian Falk saying that they were interested in Dennis Zakaria? I haven't seen that Irwa, but if that's true, Zakaria is a very, very good player, and Halim is talking about it as well. Look, a lot of you know about Zakaria. We've spoken about him a few times. He picked up an injury, I think, in around April time, and didn't feature when the Bundesliga came back. I'm not sure whether he's back playing yet, but very, very good player. He was never going to move in the summer because of that injury, but he's a very, very, very good player, and I like him. I do like him, and I'd like United to be looking at him, to be honest. Please smash a like on the video if you're watching live, by the way, and subscribe if you're new. We're moving towards 900,000 subscribers. Imagine, I mean, it's still a long way off, but imagine when we get to 900,000. It's going to get very exciting then, isn't it? Because what comes after 900,000? You've guessed it, 901,000. But no, we're not far off a million then, are we? So we're not far off 900,000. Please subscribe if you're new. Brandon Stevens says, how you doing? I'm doing really well, thank you. And what's happened with Greenwood, says Oace. Well, it's just a story coming out from the Telegraph and the Times that Man United are getting a little bit frustrated with Greenwood, and he has been warned about his punctuality, turning up late for training, etc. So look, there seems to be, we've had a week of Greenwood stories, there seems to be something going on. There was rumours that he wasn't injured really, and that he's been punished by the club. Disappointing, but look, we need to get behind him, and he needs to focus because he's a fantastic player. I just think he's a young lad. And, you know, we've all been 18, unless you're not 18 yet. And when you're that age, you're not necessarily as mature as you will be in your 20s and your 30s. So he just needs the right people around him. And most of all, he just needs to know that a lot of people that are around him and trying to, you know, get him to go out or get him to do this or whatever. They're doing it because he's a very talented lad. They wouldn't be doing it if he was a bit bricklayer. They wouldn't. So he's got to realise that his fame and the attention he gets from his fame is because of the talent he's got in his feet, and not let that fame become the focus so that you ignore the talent in your feet. And I know that probably doesn't make any sense, but Ryan Giggs could have fell into this trap, and Sir Alex Ferguson made sure he didn't. You're a young talent. Everybody wants you. You know, girls, boys, newspapers, modelling, brands. They all want your time. They're all Mason or Ryan. You're great. If you're a young teenager, you're going to think you're great, aren't you? But they just want your piece of flesh. And also, if I was Mason, I'd also be looking at it and think, look at the way the press treated me from the Iceland incident. And, you know, play the game, and the game is the one in your feet, because these hangers-on and these fake popularity thing, it won't mean nothing in 5 years. Are people hanging on to Ravel Morrison now? I mean, Ravel Morrison's only about 27, isn't he? No. They could have been if he'd taken that talent and done what he should have been. Ravel Morrison should be one of England's best players. So there's plenty of warning signs. He's at the right club. He's got the right people around him. He just needs to, you know, get into that mindset himself and be a professional. But remember, he's still a kid. You know, he's 18, really. He is 18, and it's difficult. But yeah, it's like having all your cake. You know, you want a slice of the cake, and everyone says you can have what you like from the cake shop. It's that temptation, isn't it? It's that, you know, unbelievable attention at a young age that nobody really gets used to. Nobody ever has, but he's got it. So yeah, he just needs to be back. Do you think Bruno could play false 9 position, says Ian Singh? I think Bruno can play any position. I really think he's fantastic. Thanks, Avashek. See Klopp on spitting image. Thought I was a teenager again, says Monetized. Where is this spitting image thing? I've seen things about it, but I don't know where it is. And I think this could be interesting. Greenwood turns into a character at Man United and bolsters Man United again, because Man U doing fine even without him, says Carter Key. And Mark, why can't Man United scouts come to South Africa after COVID? Some great talent there, says Tarek. Well, Manchester United seem to be doing quite a good job in recruiting players, younger players at the moment. So, I'd love to see. You know what? There's 2 things I'd like to see. I'd love to see a young African player come through Manchester United setup, and I'd love to see a young Irish player come through United setup, because I think for too long we haven't had a really good Irish player at United. And I think about the Roy Keanes and the Dennis Irwins and even the John O'Shea's and people like that. I think it would be really nice for that to happen. But I don't know how it works with Ireland anymore. They don't seem to produce that many fantastic players anymore, which is a bit of a shame. But I'd love to see one back at Manchester United. I really, really would. Right, I've got to finish because I'm going to be live on That's Football in about 5 minutes' time for the Liverpool versus Ajax watch-along. So I'll be continuing the football chat for the next couple of hours whilst watching Liverpool versus Ajax. I've dropped the link in the video description. The live chat is open for you, so you can go straight over there and get in the live comments. And I'll be there with you in about 5 minutes. But thanks everybody for watching. Smash a like on video. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Got lots of content for you tomorrow on the United Stand. Previews, guests, and the morning show at 10 a.m. as well. Pray for Nigeria. Love you, Mark. Please help us, says Goku. And that's a very important way to end the show. We do pray for Nigeria, and it's very important that people are vocal about it on social media and everything. Keep it in people's eye, because important people who can make a difference need to see it and make a difference, because what's going on over there is disgusting. And what I would say is that some people might not know. Some people might be late to this story, but when you look into it, it's horrible what's going on there. So thoughts and prayers with people in Nigeria. It's a horrible year, 2020, a horrible year, but the good people need to stick together. Thanks for watching. I'll speak to you soon, and join me on That's Football, links in the video description, and we'll continue the chat over there.